Your group 2, where we decided to start was quickly set the scene for the sales methodology. So basically, what we want to do is develop a technology roadmap in support of technology planning efforts. So we want to help set a direction for the company. What products do we need to work on? What are going to be the budget allocations for the next, I don't know how many years, maybe 2-3 years, and the main priorities in our development activities. What we also learned from the documents that we worked through is when we are talking about incremental changes, it's not so difficult to predict what the future will look like if we just introduce small changes into the product, which could be like small efficiency improvements, for example. However, where we have to also take into account potentially disruptive changes, then it becomes much more difficult. But still, we want to find a mechanism that will help us to try and also keep into account these potential disruptions that might come. And that's where the sales methodology could be used. I'm just going to read the definition we were able to extract from the literature. Methodology based on observations of past patterns of change across several complex technology-based system-level industries for the identification of the emergence of potentially disruptive technologies and opportunities for development of disruptive technologies. Maybe we want to be the cause of the disruption as well. As we have these 5 components in the sales methodology, the changes in industry standards, changes in architectures, then various forms of integration and disintegration of elements, linkages between the various elements across the supersystem, and substitutions within the subsystem. And we will also give some examples of each, just to set the scene a bit more, to give a bit more background. And in order to support the example we chose was the move in the high voltage electrical subsystems in automotive super systems, you could say. The potential move that was suggested by 2 automotive manufacturers, or maybe even more, from 12 volts to 42 volts. And electrically speaking, it's like a small change, but of course this will affect, the entire electronical system that we have in the cars. As you can see on this graph, all the interconnected parts of the electronical system will be affected. And then we move to the more detailed analysis.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, so the examples, as Evan said, for the standards, to identify trends for industry standardization as various levels of the value-added chain. As example is the standards particular to 42 voltage initiative includes Society of Automotive Engineering, MIT Industry Consortium, or Advanced Automotive Electronic Components and Systems. For example, for architecture, to brainstorm various architecture options at each value-added level. New architectures for power distribution and control, example, dual voltages or multiple voltages. For integration, to develop options for integration, forward integration and backward integration. The example is because of the higher voltage, possible integration of starter motor and alternator in single unit. Sorry, no engineering background. For the leakages, to identify the leakages between functional performance, of all portion of the product. For example, we took lower current requirements at the same power, reduction in size and weight of wiring harness for substitution. To seek out competitive threats to a component of the product or some portion of the product. So here the higher voltage allows the use of electronic motors in the places where the belts or hydraulics are presently used. And we can choose here substitutions from the potential competitors.
Yes, so if we move on to thinking about how one place in which this kind of sales methodology is particularly applicable to a general IP strategy, we can think about a value-added monopoly, which is really focused on exclusifying specific customer benefits. And we can use this kind of sales methodology to really figure out how we can build this sphere of exclusivity around the benefits that we want to offer. So, for example, in this case, the change to a higher voltage can result in a lot lighter, higher performance system, but how do we begin to protect that? And by using this sales methodology, as Nina just summarized, we can come up with various areas in which we need to change our system components. And therefore, we can protect those system components and really build this sphere of exclusivity. And that prevents the competition from being able to really intrude into what we can offer. So, for example, with the change to a higher voltage, Nina mentioned that there's a problem with arcing. If we come up with, for example, better electronic switches that don't have this arcing, we protect it, then we really stop competitors from being able to encroach into the higher voltage space so easily. And this can go for each of the components of the sales methodology, where we can figure out exactly those components and then focus our attention on how we improve them to be able to provide the customer benefit and then exclusify them. And I think that's about it.
This is for group 2.
Yes.
That mine is the first one coming up. First of all, myself and also other people of the group gave a look both at the claims as opening the direct link. That was typically the application, but also we gave a look to get a better understanding of the final scope of protection of the claims, the granted patent. And this led me, our group, to put the first patent, AP833, into, well, I put it in standard, but it's also linkage. There were basically 2 catchwords. One of them was embedding like quality data. So it means that it shall likely rely on standard to give a certain meaning to like quality data, whatever it means. And also there is another catchword that was a controller for a light source, so linkage. So in between, at least it involves standard to a certain way, and also linkage because it is a controller for a light source. That's mine.
Here, no? Are we doing in order, Ewan? Is that? Okay, so
yes.
So I had the next one, which was basically we classified it as representing of change in architecture, because this is describing a new device that
the third one, if we stick only to the abstract, because of course we don't have the time to read the claims and analyze the patent. So here we are protecting the apparatus comprises a wireless interface for communicating over a pre-existing public wireless network. So the system is already pre-existing and we are just integrating something new. So it's integration.
Yeah. Then moving on to EP927. So this is the lighting control via a mobile computing device. Essentially what we're doing is adding some functionality to the computing device so that it can communicate with a new linkage to only the lights that are around and affecting the light around the device. And it's using that to provide control. So there's a new linkage between just those lights and your mobile computing device.
get to the last one, which was a lighting-enabled system and methods for evacuation plans. So there we figured this is a completely new way of designing evacuation plans and optimizing evacuation plans. That's why we put it as a substitute. Basically, and there we did not consider the aspect of the integration in an existing lighting system. I have to admit, but we also figured it fitted on the S for substitutes.